Hey garden friends, today let's talk about 7 thoughtful garden ideas for the 2026 garden and how I want to proceed for this season. So come on along. I want to have a slower, smarter approach to growing what truly works in my garden. So I'm going to look ahead to my 2026 gardening year with some goals in mind. I want to lower my maintenance so that I can just enjoy rather than keep up or try to keep up. And I've always tried to garden that way, but there's times when my desires for new plants or I love my seed starting and all of those things, like this time of year, I'm anxious to seed start because I enjoy it and it fills that need or that desire to garden. But then come spring, I have way too many plants. I've always thought I'll have a plant sale or I'll give them away, and that just hasn't worked. So I'm going to be mindful of what I start this year. I have a few things, and I'll go over that in another video, of the seeds I want to start this year and why, and where I'm thinking of putting them. I wanted to talk like 7 ideas, and this is the first one. I want to repeat what already performs well and make more of it. Now this could be perennials, kind of like I had the Salvia gregii. I'm not pronouncing it well. There's 2,000 varieties of salvia, but these are the ones that are usually, they're called like autumn salvias or something like that because of many of them are later blooming. The ones I had, they started blooming, now that they're established, in spring or early summer, and they continued until first frost. I did not have to deadhead. They just took care of themselves, and that was just an awesome thing because there's a lot of flowers that require deadheading to keep blooming well. I love them, and I cheat with deadheading. I just go in there with my big hedge trimmers and whack, 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 because I don't have time always to individually deadhead them, and that just makes it easier. But so I'm going to propagate those salvias that I got. I have some lavender ones. I got one that leans more towards blue. The one that did so gorgeous in my garden is fuchsia. And then I got one that was an apricot-y tone. And then another one that was in the pinks. So I have a wide variety. And like the apricot-y one, I want to propagate it to put in my artist garden, which is supposed to be the oranges, apricots, blues, and or purple. And I could fill that area with that to have a huge impact. When you have many plants like that together, it creates a large impact. Now there's other plants in that area already, and it will complement those beautifully. But that one plant I can make many of, and I know it's going to perform for me all summer, whether I can tend to it or not. So there's others that I want to start from seed that I know are easy care and fill in, and they do beautifully for me. And there's like rudbeckias and echinaceas and all of those. I just have to protect the echinaceas because the gophers love to eat them. I have a whole pile of seeds. I'm looking around for my thing of seeds. 1 minute. I had some beautiful echinaceas this year, and look at this. I have a bucket full of seeds, a bucket full. So I've got plenty. I could share seeds, but I got plenty to sow, and I know they also, once they start blooming, they're a little bit later for me because we take a while to warm up, and they like it warm. But to have those throughout in big masses, my garden, is going to be gorgeous. And I can pair them with white echinaceas, the white swan, which I do want to start many more. I like a ton for impact. I have a couple out in my secret cottage garden. I have to pull one out because it looks like it has the asters yellow, and there's one right next to it who's not, doesn't seem to be suffering from it. I thought it was a mite, and I treated it for the mite, and it didn't help it, the one that's got the asters yellow. So I'll pull the one out. The other one, the one that is doing well, I don't know how big the root mass is. I may pull it up and divide it. Therefore, I already got those going. But white swan starts very, very easily from seed. And there's also one called powwow white that will start easily from seed. So I want to get some white ones because I want to replace the white of the daisies in my garden. I will keep the daisies because I love my crazy daisies. But even with deadheading, they don't bloom as long as I would like to have that white. But to start with, they are beautiful. And then I just cut them down lower and they'll rebloom sporadically, but the echinacea will fill in once the daisies are done. So that's my plan for that, repeating plants that do well for me without a lot of work. Let's start on number 2. Fill in with more ground covers and less mulch for healthier soil. So bare soil, as you probably well know, invites weeds, dries out quickly, and needs constant attention. So wherever mulch is still doing all the work in my garden, I want plants to step in. So in my rose cottage garden, I do have some ground covers, but I want to add more. Blue star creeper is beautiful, stays very flat to the ground, but will cover the soil. Also, I have dead nettle or lamium. I have one called White Nancy that is just really beautiful. It would also do well under my roses and just spread and fill in, cover the ground. Both of them are super easy to dig up if I wish to plant a perennial in an area in the garden or in the rose alley or more roses. So it's not something that can't be taken out very easily. I have an entire video on several ground covers that I absolutely love and grow. And I want to do some more. In fact, I was going to do a video of me digging up some blue star creeper to put in pots because I went to a garden center and they had a rose in a container, and around the base of it they had the blue star creeper growing and it was draping over the side. And it was beautiful. I didn't think of using it in a container with a rose. But right now my ground is frozen, so my attempt to dig it up didn't work. But as soon as it warms up enough for the ground to unfreeze, then I really want to do that. But anyway, so here with the ground covers, they shade and protect the soil, they hold moisture longer, they improve soil health naturally. Yes, I was reading an article on how they do even better than mulch in improving your soil. And they reduce the need for repeated mulching. So if you're getting older like me and it's harder and harder for you to grab bags of mulch or get mulch and shovel it into your garden beds, then this is the ticket for you. As well as you can use your leaves off your trees, which most of us rake them up, and you can put them in your flower beds as well as mulch, and it does improve the soil. So even small patches of ground cover make a noticeable difference. Also, just that green layer, like the pathway in my rose cottage garden is a micro clover. I love it. I go through maybe once a month, at most, and I weed eat it down so it makes like a carpet. And it's green, it's drought tolerant, and I want to add more. So I need to order more seeds. I got to put that on my list of seeds I definitely am going to get. I'm really holding off on buying a lot of seeds this season because I have tons of seeds and I really don't need to start a lot. That's why I'm not going to do a lot of seed starting this winter or spring like I normally would, just because I enjoy it. But I don't need all those plants, and I don't usually typically have a plant sale where I could unload the rest. They'd end up getting composted, which isn't bad. I mean, it would have fun growing them, and that it just seems a shame to throw them away. All right, number third thing I want to do in my garden this year is improve seeding areas or add new ones. Yes, in my secret cottage garden, there's a spot where my tool shed is. I would like to set up a bistro set there, get an arbor to go over it, or even just an umbrella, and make a little cozy bistro area there. It's a great focal point. It will enable me to sit down and enjoy a beverage and look around, enjoy the birds and the bees and the blooms of everything. I'm always adding seating because it does encourage you to sit. But also, if you're growing older like me, the seating can help in getting up. You just put your hand down on the seat of a chair, or if it's a bench, and you'll help get yourself up. So that's another method to my madness of seating areas. But they work great. So I am going to refresh that area in my secret cottage garden. I do have to somehow put some kind of flooring down because the dirt is so soft that the legs of a bistro set would go into the soil. So that's just one thing I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I have about tons of the square pavers I could put in as a floor, or I'm not sure. I have some flagstones that I could get real close together. Now I think the pavers will do better because the flagstones will have little gaps that the chairs could get into, the legs of them. So the pavers really close together may be the ticket. So I'll have to work up a budget, see what size I need to make it safe, because you don't want to have your chair fall off the edge and, fall over. But yes, so that's my number 3, improve or add seating areas. Number 4 is to add a statement bird bath. I want a nice concrete, not overly ornate, but the ones I have now are all DIY. They're great, they work, and they're galvanized tubs, but I wanted something that had a little bit more elegance to create another focal point in one of my gardens. I would love one in the Rose Cottage garden, Rose Alley, and then another in my secret cottage garden, or even one in the entrance garden, any of those places. So it sounds like I want 3, right? So I'll get one at a time, acquire them, or I'll DIY. I have a video, it's a very short video, on how I made a fountain out of an old wheelbarrow, and that was really fun. I could recreate that out front and it would work great too. So that's an idea. I need to write it down so that I do it. So that bird bath, I want a classic, timeless look. I want it to be a focal point, a subtle one, because the bistro set's going to be out there as a focal point as well if it's in the secret cottage garden. I want it to create a special feeling, as well as attracting the birds where I can sit and watch them. You wouldn't believe the wildlife that is attracted just by adding a water feature. It is amazing in that. I think I'm going to move. The sun's getting in my eyes. Yeah, I know that bird bath will be a great accent in the garden, and we'll see what I can find on a budget. There's plenty of concrete ones, and they should hold up very well in the winter for me without too much fuss. I don't want, I love the big fountains, but number 1, they're very, very expensive. Number 2, I would be afraid that here in our conditions that it would crack, freeze, and not hold up. But who knows? I mean, I know they do well in other areas. I would just have to find a spot where I could plug it in really well. I do have a big, I have a solar fountain that is a larger size for a pond. I'll have to look into that. All right, number 5, I want to add more roses and extend Rose Alley. Now, Rose Alley, you've seen, I'll link to the video that I did last June. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's only 2 years old. This coming spring, it'll be 3 years old, and it has filled in beautifully, and it is just awesome all summer long. I would like to extend it from the side garden, which now I call my Rose Cottage garden, to across the sidewalk to the entrance garden, the side of it beside the road. And I would like to have some more arbors walking up that way. I'm not sure how it'll look because of the way it would be placed, but I won't know until I try. That's my idea there. Now, I focus on roses that smell great. That's one thing that I would like to make sure any new roses I put in, they have a strong scent, because I love scent in the garden. 2, I want them to be very disease resistant and be known for that. And 3, I have particular colors I want. So extending Rose Alley is number 5 on my list. And roses, the right ones, do very, very well for me, and I enjoy them thoroughly. Roses and irises are 2 of my weak points. 6, I would like to visit more public gardens for inspiration. Yes, I've visited Bouchard Gardens. I've been to Huntington Library here in California. I have been to Filoli several times. Others, there's another one in Los Angeles. I'll put it across the screen that I have visited. And there's just so many, even in just California, that are beautiful. And I always come away with great ideas. You know, many times these public gardens, I've also been to the botanical gardens in Boise, Idaho. They rely not on high-priced new plants or new varieties. They rely on regular old nursery staples, so to speak, things that have been around for decades, and they can start, propagate, or whatever easily to put in that garden. They don't have a big budget. Therefore, they will rely on tried and true old varieties that have come through years and years, and they still perform. And you will get ideas of what you can do with those plants that are relatively inexpensive usually. And it just is inspiring to see. You don't have to buy a fancy name plant to have a truly beautiful garden. So that's number 6. Also, visiting those gardens, you get an idea of what plants really look good together and how you can layer, I mean shorter, mid-sized, taller, all of the above, and just create your own space. Even if it's in containers, you can get ideas for that. So number 7, I want to research smaller shrubs that bring color with less work. Usually, and I say the smaller shrubs because I don't have room for big bushes that get out of hand. And usually the larger sizes, they take more maintenance to keep, because you got to constantly prune them, to keep them within a size that you want. So if I can find the dwarf, like a dwarf mock orange, I would really love a mock orange to put in my garden. But I don't want a real big one. And some of them I've seen, they grow practically tree size. So yeah, that's something I want them to stay compact. I want them to offer foliage color through the seasons, require minimal pruning, and blend well with my perennials. I want them also to be like a backbone to the rest of my garden because they will provide color even when the perennials haven't come back yet and the annuals haven't really started to put on their show. So that was all 7. So I really want to look ahead to 2026 with intention. I have a tendency to be like a shotgun blast going every which direction. And this year I really want to make my blows count, so to speak. I want to save my money or spend money on features like maybe the bistro set, the fountain, or the bird bath, and things like that to get those going rather than spending willy-nilly on plants. Now, I have been in here starting cuttings of geraniums. I know if I put those in big containers, I can use those to fill in areas that have gotten where the color is gone or it needs filling for the moment. They do beautifully here. They propagate very easily, and whatever I don't keep, I can easily sell. Let's see if I actually do a sale. Last year I did sell a bunch of my extra tomato plants that I had started, and that went very well. So I should really keep in mind maybe having a ornamental plant sale too if I have too many things started. So my 2026 garden plans, it's not about doing more, it's about doing better. I'm going to have more repeating plants or repeat more plants that do well easily. I want more living ground cover. I want more places to sit, more moments of enjoyment. So if you're planning your garden for this next season, I hope these ideas will encourage you to slow down, really think about it. Now, I am totally guilty of impulse buying in a garden center, especially if I run across a plant that's been on my wish list that I hadn't been able to find previously. But I really am going to focus on either plants I can propagate or I know they will do well. So I'm going to observe what works well in my gardens or think back. I'm even going to go through my videos and see what really was doing well for me. And then I'm going to repeat those throughout. So the best gardens aren't rushed, they're enjoyed. And you can take your time in creating new spaces. Now, there are areas that I do want to change up, only because I've had a wish list for a Mediterranean garden. and I thought I had an area picked out for it. It didn't pan out. So I am now thinking about where I could do, you can have a small area, even in containers. I was watching Alan Titmarsh's channel, and he's planted up this small area in containers. He surrounded a bistro set with it, and it was so lovely. And even some of the plants that would normally get much larger, you can keep in the containers for a season and then move out into the garden or pot them up into larger containers, whatever. But it was very inspiring, and I would love to try, like I said, a Mediterranean garden area. I'm just now, as I'm talking, I'm thinking of an area that I would work perfect in. So that's coming up in the future. And I already have a lot of plants. I've started more rosemary. I've got tons of lavenders. There's other plants too that would do well. I want to get another olive tree. I did kill my one olive tree, but it did very well for like 3 years, and it was beautiful. It had that look that I was looking for, that I was wanting. So that, my friends, is my 2026 kind of guidelines of where I'm going by. And I hope you also have an idea or are trying to work on an idea of how you want to make your garden even more enjoyable this next season. So I will see you on my next video.